everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the book Refuge, and today I'm bringing you one of my favorite tropes with a twist. No, I'm just kidding. I'm bringing you one of my favorite tropes and my favorite way to have the trope, if that makes sense. So one of the tropes that I have the most videos for on this channel is age gaps. I've done taboo age gaps where some of the people are underage. I've done a mix of them all before. And so I think this video, it will have some doubles from previous videos, but a lot of you are new to my channel. Maybe you haven't watched the other age gaps. And also my friend Tamika over at Library of Tomes, when I put up my asking for what trope videos you want for this month, she asked for me to do student teacher, which is one of my favorites. And student teacher isn't always an age gap. Sometimes you're only a couple years different from the person and it's still, shouldn't be happening because you're a teacher, you're in a position of authority. But who cares? This is romance and we can read things that aren't allowed in real life, right? Okay. First thing I want to mention before I do this, because I've been forgetting to do it lately. If you're interested in any of the books that I mentioned in like my weekly wrap-ups or things like that, I always have my Amazon affiliate link down below, which I have all these different lists of the books that I'm currently reading, books that are my favorites, suggestions for equipment to use in your, YouTube if you're filming with your phone like I am and stuff. So you can always check that out. I do get a small commission from Amazon, but girls got to hustle during COVID. What you gonna do? But if you're interested in any of these, make sure you look down at them below. So let's go ahead and get started with student teacher. This is, like I said, one of my favorites, and I generally rate these types of books 5 stars unless they really mess them up, because I like when it's taboo, and I like when it's not, and I like when it's a high school student and their teacher, and when it's a college student and their teacher, and I just love it all. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So let's start off with one that just has so much going on in it. And this one isn't very erotic, so if you don't like things as spicy, you can definitely try this book out. This one is just heartbreaking and beautiful, and also has just, it's amazing. So this is On the Island. This is by Tracy Garvis Graves, and this is actually an older woman, younger man. This is about Anna and TJ, and Anna is going to be TJ's tutor. He had cancer, and so he missed some time in school, and so he's trying to catch up. He's only 16, just about 17 when this book starts, and Anna is 30. And then due to a tragedy, they get hatcheted, basically. Their plane driver has a heart attack and their plane goes down and they get stranded on an island. And they are there for 3 or 4 years. It's a very long time, okay? They're there for a very long time. Nothing, if you're someone who doesn't want to read like I said, this isn't erotic sex at all. And in fact, there isn't even anything romantic between the two of them until after he's 18, because Anna is paranoid about it. And if they ever do get saved, she doesn't want to be seen as someone who preyed on someone younger than her. But also they're the only 2 people there, and they both still need affection and care and love. And so there's a lot of rules that they both follow for each other in the beginning. And then over time, just when they're sick at different times, they are surviving together and they celebrate their wins together. And eventually they're just like, there's nobody else for us. Like, what are we supposed to do? And so in this book, you get to see them all the way through this experience, from who they are before, during, and then what they're dealing with when they get back. And it's really beautiful and just, it's so, so good. So good. I love it. I love it so much. Then we're gonna get dark real quick. We'll keep going. One that also still isn't full-on erotic or anything. I was actually surprised that it wasn't as crazy as I thought it would be. But that is Gabriel's Inferno by Sylvain Reynard. So this is one of the older series. It came out in 2011. It's being made into a movie series by Passionflix. If you are interested, I haven't tried to watch it because they're breaking this first book into 3 hour-long, not episodes, but 3 90-minute pieces. And so I'm waiting until it's all out. But this is about Gabriel and Julia, and they actually knew each other when they were young, and now, but he's 10 years older than her, and now he's her professor at college. She's studying Dante, and he's the Dante expert, and of course the parallelisms and the analogies, like, they are very strong. And I'll tell you that is one of the few downsides to this series for me. But I really love Gabriel. I really fell for him. And Julia, so she fell for him a long time ago. Gabriel used to do a lot of drugs and drink a lot, and he had a lot of stuff he was going through. And they have this magical night together, and he thinks it's a dream because he is drugged, like so drugged, and she completely falls in love with him. And then when they meet up this 10 years later, and she is his student now, I don't think it's fully 10 years. It's a while. It's 8 or 9 years. He doesn't remember any of it. He just remembers her as the family friend that he knew when she was young. And then when he remembers, things get really interesting. But yeah, this is a student teacher. This is very interesting. I've read the first 3 in the series. I still haven't read the final one yet. I want to. But I also don't want it to be over, because I actually really loved, Gabriel. His name is on the fucking front. Gabriel and Julia. So then I have Misbehaved by Charlie Rose. Oh my gosh, this book, man. This girl. This is a full wraparound. Look at this girl. Look at that pinup right there. So this is about Remy and James. Mr. James? What's his first name? Remy and Pierce. Yep. And this is an interesting one. So Remy's older stepbrother is a pervert, and he feels her up sometimes and kisses her, and she puts up with it because she doesn't want to rock the boat. She doesn't want things to get dangerous or scary, so she puts up with it, because in the past she's kind of been able to control her stepbrother, like with the temptation of herself, if that makes sense. But he started to get more erratic as he's gotten more into drugs. Her older stepbrother is partially responsible for Pierce's younger sister killing herself. And so Pierce, who moves into town, he becomes a teacher at the high school. He wants to ruin this guy's life. And so he starts watching Remy and her brother, keeping an eye on her. And then I think she is already 18, and she is left in the hands of her stepbrother. Her father's always on the road, and he just like leaves her there. And she and Pierce just begin this like dance with each other, basically back and forth. And it's so good, because Pierce is trying to get revenge against her brother, and so he plans to mess with her a little bit. He doesn't plan to go fully like after her, but he plans to like mess with her brain a little bit to get back at her brother. But he quickly is falling for her, and of course doesn't want to do that, and they have a really interesting dynamic because of that. This book is super sexy, even though like sex doesn't happen until almost 50% into this book. And then it's so much fun. I like this one. I also think this one has a 10-year age gap as well. But Misbehaved was super sexy. Then, you know I had to do it. Dark Notes by Pam Godwin. This was my first student-teacher romance. It is the best one in my opinion. I just reread this in August with my friend Bree. My friend Bree really liked it too. This is about Emmerich and Ivory, and this book, oh boy, the trigger warnings in this book, my loves. Ivory has been used for her body, mistreated by her mother and her brother, and treated like a slut by everyone at school, and used for her body by people at school. Her brother's friend rapes her all the time, and she is just resigned that this is her lot in life, and she's going to do what she has to do to get into the school that she wants to get into and get the full scholarship and get the hell out of where she is. And then she gets her new teacher, Emmerich, and he's been brought to this school in a little bit of shame because of some experiences that happened at a school he taught at previously, not with a student, but with a fellow teacher. And there was a non-fraternization policy with that. And he loved that woman, and she did him wrong. And then he meets Ivory, and he doesn't want to like her, but he's really drawn to her. And so the more he learns about her, the more he realizes that this woman needs him, and And he's not thinking that in an unhealthy way. Like, it is unhealthy, okay? This isn't a super healthy story or anything. But when you work your way through this story and you see the things that this woman has been through as a girl, like, she's a girl, but she's a woman because of the things she's lived through and the way that she feels about herself. And then you get Emmerich, and Emmerich is into BDSM. And he is a carer for sure. That's the parts that he loves about it and where he gets the most satisfaction. And Ivory isn't used to anyone taking care of her. And so Emmerich slowly convincing her that, number one, you can trust me. And number two, I will take on your burdens. And I will make sure that no one can get to you. And I will protect you and put your needs before my own and teach you to love your body and not be ashamed of it. And it's so beautiful. It is beautiful. And so, yeah, this was my first student teacher. And so the first time I ever read it, I just thought it was really sexy and fun. I also didn't know that much about BDSM yet either. And to be shown what BDSM can do to heal and help a person is one of the most, like, beautiful things that I've ever read. And I compare all student teacher books to this one, and I compare all BDSM to this one to a certain degree, because you can be doing it just for fun as well. But when BDSM is being used to, like, help correct a behavior or to help a person, I compare it to this because it's great. It's so good. It's also a little bit of a Cinderella story in ways because Emmerich is super rich too, so that's fun. Then there is Taming the Teacher. This one also has BDSM elements in it, and it's also an older woman, younger man. And this is a case of there's only about 5-year age difference between them because our woman, Erin, she is only just 22, and she becomes a teacher at an all-boys school. And then we have Shep, and Shep is a senior, and he immediately has a lot of feelings towards her. But things start out really weird because she has a one-night stand with another teacher and she gets pregnant, and this all happens really quick in the book. And because of their rules at that school, it's a private religious school, and the only way for both of them to keep their job is for them to get married. So she marries this other teacher, and then she's out of Shep's hands, which she already was, but now she really is. And so there's some things that will happen. I won't spoil any of those. Please look up the trigger warnings for this book because I don't want to spoil them, but look them up. Shep comes back 5 years later, and he is now going to be a teacher at this school. Erin is still there. He worked at a BDSM club and dungeon for a lot of those times to pay his way through school. And he learned a lot about himself, and he realizes that he's a dom. And when he comes back, he still wants Erin, but he doesn't know if she's a submissive, and he doesn't know if she'd be into all of that, and he doesn't know if their relationship could work because it's been a lot of time and a lot of things had happened. But he does come back to that school specifically for her, and it's so good. And it's one of only like 4 older woman books that I've read, but because of the power dynamic, once he comes back, it doesn't feel like there is any difference. And this is also a good one if you don't want there to be any underage stuff, because they only share a kiss when he is underage. There's nothing else that happens. So it's really good. Taming his teacher is awesome. Let's see, what other ones I haven't talked about? There is Damaged by H.M. Ward. This is Peter and Sydney. This is a one that is a one-night stand beforehand, and then we show up at school, and he's my teacher. There's not too much else to say about that one. I have a couple that I'm going to say that about, but it's fun. That's a trope that always gets me anyway, so I don't need a lot more to be said to me. There's Lessons in Corruption by Jana Darling. In case you didn't know, this is also an older woman, younger man. This is a biker series. This is King and Cress, and it's fantastic. It's amazing. I love it. There is Burnout, and this is by Cora Lee June. Okay, I love this one. This is Decker and Blakely. And this is a case of this girl, She finds she's been in foster care her whole life, and she ages out, but she still has a year left of high school. And so she reaches out to her older brother, and he is a young professional. He's like 25, 26, and he welcomes her to come and live with him. And his roommate is a teacher at Blakely's high school, and his name is Decker. And so she's 18, almost 19, I think, because she is behind. And he immediately sets up some walls because he is super attracted to her. You know, he's only 5-6 years older than her, and he's living with her. And so he immediately sets up some walls. He's also very protective of her brother, who her brother is struggling with his sexuality, and he has before shown that he has feelings for Decker. So Decker, though he's not interested because he doesn't have any inclinations towards men, he's very protective of him because he knows that he could easily hurt him by his relationships if he's not careful. So he's very considerate in that way. And this is another one that is super steamy because they live in the same house. And so those lines, they start blurring real quick. A Place Without You by Julie Ann. This is Henna. Is her name Henna? Yeah, this is Henna and Bodhi. And they meet at this like film festival. I just remember it being like this super hippie, like fun thing. Maybe it was a concert, because his like job during the summer is like being a security guard or something. I can't remember. But she's 17. Her family are both pretty famous, I think, and they just let her do what she wants. Maybe not famous, they're rich. And when she comes back to go to school, he is her teacher. And it's a bummer because they had like really, really strong feelings during the summer, but he never shared like what he did. And she lived in Colorado, and so he had like shared what he might have shared what he did, but not like where he lived, of course. And so she like, I think she knows he's a teacher, but she doesn't know that she's moves into his school district and starts going to his school. And this one I remember being really like, I read this one a long time ago. Just like the feelings that it gave me was so much longing, because this isn't just a like one night stand. Like they communicated during the summer. They talked to each other. He just like never shared like where he was from because he didn't think he would get to see her again. And so they have like a real connection. And then to go into school and it's your teacher that you've had this deep communication with for so long. It was really intense. I really like that one. Illicit by Ava Harrison. This is Carson and Lynn. This is another one that is just a one night stand, and then he's your teacher. And then the last one I want to talk about is Her Perfect by Steffi Walls. This is about Eli and how do you say her name? Colby. And man, okay, this one has a lot of trigger warnings for mental health, and like I think this one's, I don't know if this is eating disorder or what it is that she has. I think it might be an eating disorder. I'm not sure. But this one's really intense. So Colby, she has 3 or 4 older brothers who are all like, her family idolizes them, and she's really like looked down upon. And one of her brother's close friends is Eli, and he's just moved back to town to become a teacher, and he's going to be a teacher at her school. And this is another case of, I think they're only 4 years apart because he's just graduated and she's starting her senior year, and she, if not 8, she turns 18 during it. And this is one where he is kind of actively pursuing her, which is a bit different because in a lot of these books, well, Emmerich does it too, a little bit. But in a lot of these books, it's always the younger person pursuing the teacher. And it just kind of has to be written that way just for power dynamics sake. You know, if you have a teacher actively pursuing a student, it's predatory, like it is. And even in fantasy, it kind of needs to come from in this case, usually a younger woman, of them pursuing the adult so that it doesn't feel as hinky, right? Even in fantasy, we want to have that bit of protection where we're like, this isn't, we don't want to fall in love with a pedophile, right? But in this case, Eli just, number one, loves spending time with her. Like, they become friends. They go runs together at the same time. He ends up like running without his shirt a couple times because he wants her to look at him. And he starts noticing how much her family neglects her, like really, and how her piano playing and her, you know, accomplishments are looked down on. There's one scene in this book where she has a recital and Eli's the only one who comes to it, and he's not even her family. And so Eli really becomes her family. And so he ends up kind of pursuing her, and he stays with her through everything that her family puts her through. And it's really beautiful. It's really painful. So again, look up the trigger warnings for this, but I love Eli. I love how good he is to her, the care that he takes of her, and he becomes her rock and her strong place and her defender. And I just have the biggest squishy feelings when men do that in books. That's what I love about Emmerich too. I keep bringing him up. Read Dark Notes if you haven't. But yeah. Those are all of them. Those are all that I want to share for my student teacher. I know I talked really quick about some of them, but mostly they're just the one night stand turns teacher. So if you like that trope, look up that book. I have a whole list on my Goodreads. That's all my favorite age gaps, and a lot of these are listed on there. So anyway, thanks so much for watching this. I hope you have a wonderful week. Make sure to check out my Amazon affiliate links if you want to check out what books I'm reading, and if you want to purchase them, check that out. I put up new videos 3 to 4 times a week, so check those out if you want. Have a great day. Bye.